are here. We're all ready to listen and learn. I'm Joseph Adams, and we are going to be going over how to receive remote healing energy or remote connections in general. So many of you know me from my group remote healing offering, in which 2 times a month I sit down in meditation and I connect to the group with a remote energy connection. And go ahead and mute all these people real quick. Yeah, so if you're jumping in already, please hit mute. This is super laggy. Anywho, moving forward. Yeah, so you know me from my group remote healing offering, which I've been doing this the last 3 years exclusively, pioneering a really powerful practice. And but with this practice comes a little bit of knowledge and know-how on how to best receive. What's the best way that we can receive this energy? How do we connect in? How do we know that this is going to work? And so as we want to learn about that process, we're going to backtrack a little bit and we're going to learn about all the different types of ways in which we can connect and what it means to be human and why this is a capacity that we have as one of our forms of perception or sensory. So, as you know, there is a human consciousness grid. There is one human mind. There is one human collective, but we have these bodies, this flesh in which we have a separated experience, an individual experience. And as we go through our spiritual journey, our spiritual practice, we learn more and more about unity, how we're all connected, how this separated individual perspective is limited, how it's just an illusion. It's not fully real. And the fact is, the more you go inwards, the more you recognize specific ways to open and expand your mind, you realize that we're all connected. Our thoughts, our emotions, there's a human collective field. And with that said, this brings you to my favorite analogy about how this group healing offering works or any type of remote connection. So there is one medium, one collective mind in which we're all connected to this. We're connected to every single human mind that is out there. And my favorite analogy is like when you go to the fair and you see the bumper cars, all those individual bumper cars going around the track having fun, but yet they're all connected to that circuitry above. They're all powered by the same thing. It's very similar to how these remote connections work. There is a grid that we're all connected to, and with proper instruction, we can all open up to that electricity. We can all open up to that connection. So that's one of my favorite analogies because that's exactly how I see it. And, you know, this human collective grid, um, it takes time to understand. It takes time to open yourself up and recognize what's beyond your mind. And that's a big part of meditation, getting clarity, getting quiet and peaceful, is that you begin to recognize the boundaries in the container that your mind has created. You start knocking down those walls, you start to feel the connection to everything. And we live in fields, just fields of connection. We're just constantly walking through different types of energy, different types of expressions of this one collective mind. You walk into the forest, you walk into the woods, you feel nature, you walk through nature, you walk with nature. It's a really unique feeling versus walking through an urban center, walking through densities of people, or even going to like a big sporting event and feeling all that hyped up very strong energy. They're all different types of fields playing out in this one overall collective. So when we get together for these group connections, we are creating our own unique expression, our own unique experience within this one collective field. So we all have, as it starts, we have physical relationships, we have the ability to speak and express energy. Energy can go through speaking and connecting like that. We can listen. And the big thing that we've all had experience with is the connection through dreams. You think enough about someone or something, you will start to have dreams about it. That's another way in which we are connected to this massive field. So those are all really beautiful ways that we're all connected. And one of the ways that helps us open up to these remote connection is when we start opening up the higher sensory of the heart. Now, the heart is of unity. We're learning to transcend this lower human mind of just thinking, just surviving, and just basic human emotions. But eventually, one opens up into higher sensory of the heart. And when you start to open up the heart's field, this is where you start to get your first taste of unity. So, recognizing that we have higher sensory through love, through gratitude, through compassion, through empathy, these fields, these emotions help open us up to the collective. So if someone is struggling to make a remote connection, then you may need to just practice a little bit and begin to open up those emotions. So anytime you have experiencing finding love and expanding it beyond yourself, finding compassion, expanding it beyond yourself. And that's the theme, is that these emotions open you up to deeper relationships with the collective consciousness because you're moving out of the I, that singular expression, that separated state of being, and you're moving into collective fields. So when you start to transcend and move into the heart, you're actually very slowly chipping away and opening yourself up to unity. Now, this is a progressive energy. This is a progressive state of being in which it doesn't just happen overnight. So the more you tap into love, the more you tap into compassion, this will begin to slowly open you up to unity, to the unified collective field. And it's a beautiful journey in which, your mind gets blown more and more and more because you're recognizing the deeper relationships that we have, the deeper relationships that consciousness has with itself. This is why remote connections work, is because we are opening ourselves up to deeper relationships, more dimensions to how we can relate with each other. So that's kind of the science in the background of how we slowly open ourselves up to remote connections. And we'll go over the how to in just a moment. So, as I mentioned, just to recap, this higher sensory can help you open up a unified perspective and understanding. Love, compassion, gratitude, empathy, um, and so forth. Those types of emotions. All right, moving forward. Now, when we begin these group connections, um, we are creating our own field. We are connecting together as a whole and creating our own unique parameters, boundaries, and experiences within these group connections. Okay, so when we all come together as a group, look at it as if it's just one just conglomeration of just all of our energies together. All of our information of every single person just comes together in this formless connection. So that's what's happening when we do these group healings, these remote connections. All of our energies are combining together and it becomes one energy. Now, what I'm doing during these remote connections is this. When I begin the session, I open up the connection. I'm becoming a higher aspect. I'm becoming a much, much higher vibration for the collective because I'm a part of everyone. And so as I open up this higher dimensional energy, whatever energy I'm channeling or connecting to, I'm becoming a portal. I'm becoming like a window that opens up and allows this in stream to which this connection connects to everyone else into the field. Imagine like a shower head that has infinite amount of little water lines coming down, and they're all connecting to every single person within the group. So I'm acting on behalf of the group's connection. So the group allows me to open up to them. And that's how these unified connections are occurring. And I was thinking about today and I was just like, wow, it's just because we really are. Every single person is within every single person. We all have connection to everyone and everything. It's all within us. The infinity is inside everyone. So when you have one person who's initiating and conducting this connection, that's all it takes is one person to allow this incredible spiritual catalyst to connect to the whole field. Now, how to set it up for the receiver is what we're going to go over next. Now, the first thing we want to do is take a look at our space. We want to be able to have a clean, clear space. So the first thing about remote connections is um, we want to make it the most efficient, the most powerful that we can. So I always recommend receive in a space that's kind of sacred to you, or your meditation space, or a space you have in which this is the only thing you do in this space. Now, why is that? Because over time, the more you do this high vibrational energy work or meditation work in the same space, it creates an energy, it creates an inertia. So practice in a space that you use over and over again. And I don't recommend using your bed. So I'm not sure if there's any of you out there that use your bed, but I don't recommend using your bed for anything other than sleep. So your bed is for sleep only because that's sleepy energy. You don't want that sleepy energy in your active meditation, receiving, that type of energy space. So don't receive in your space. And if you have time to clear your space, to play some sound, to burn some sage, burn Palo Santo, anything to help make that atmosphere more conducive to energy is very important. So you don't want to be receiving this energy around a bunch of electronics. You don't want your phone right next to your head. You don't want to be meditating next to a router or your computer. So try to keep your electronics, if you can, ideally, or obviously we're speaking in ideals, away from your space. And try to eliminate mess, try to eliminate clutter, keep your space organized because all that disorganization carries chaotic energy. So the more organized your space is, the more conducive it is to the things you're trying to accomplish. It helps quiet the mind. And yes, remote connections can be had in nature. Nature is a beautiful space to receive this energy. Now, just to kind of go a little bit off topic, now there are different vibrations in nature. There are different parts of nature, different parts of the earth, the world, they have higher vibrations. So there are spaces on earth in which that are more conducive to spiritual practice, to remote connection practice. Um, no, that is a very good question. Someone just said, I'll go this real quick. I thought I felt the group energy more when I got sleepy, like it quieted my mind. Was I mistaken? No. See, it's kind of a double-edged sword because when you start to get sleepy, the ego quiets. And when the ego quiets down, it lets down its barrier to perceive a little bit more information. because our egos love to be in control and they love to like see what's going on and make sure they know how they like to be in control, they like to be calling the shots. But when we get sleepy, that part of our mind lessens its grip on our perceptional valve. And so being sleepy can actually be a helpful benefit at times. But if you go so far as to fall under and fall asleep, then you might miss a really cool meditative experience. But on the other hand, if you do fall asleep, that's when there can actually be some very deep healing that occurs. So it's not uncommon and it's okay to fall asleep during these group healing remote connections. So very good, um, very good comment. Okay, so clean up your distractions, Wi-Fi, electronics. And if you, so here's another thing with these group connections. Some of them, they can be very powerful. Okay, they can take you very, very deep. So if you have some type of obligation immediately after the group healing, or you might have, I don't know, a lot of us have kids to take care of, or we have a big meeting immediately preceding, or we got to go to the gym or some type of chore. A lot of times during these group connections, your higher power won't take you as deep as you can if it knows you're about to go do something in which your faculties are more needed. Your physical faculties are more needed. Now, I've noticed this in my own practice to where um, my higher power won't take me that deep. It won't take me to the edge every time because it knows I have things to do in the future. So there are opportune times where it's like, okay, this is my chance. I have nothing in my immediate future after this, so I can go as deep. No distractions, no calls, no appointments. So that's another thing that people don't often think about. What are you doing immediately after? Do you have enough time to rest, recuperate, and recharge from those connections? All right, moving forward. Um, so clear your space. You can actually use sound as well. So if you have any sound implements, do a little bit of sound, shake up the energy, shake up the space in your area. Now, that's how you want to set up your atmosphere space. Now, how do we set up our own energy? That's the most important part about these connections. What do we want to do with our own energy? First thing, we don't want to be filled full of food. Anytime you do a remote connection, you are looking to get out of the physical dimensions, the physical vibrations. So if you're filled full of food or you just ate a big meal, that you're not going to have the best experience. Um, or at least to say you're not going to have an experience which it could have been more. It could have been more fulfilling because that food weighs you down. It slows down the mind, it slows down the body. So that's like the first one. Me personally, when I do these group healing sessions, I'm 90% of the time fully fasted. So I fast all the way up until I'm just drinking water, maybe a juice or like one or two pieces of fruit if I really need. But I avoid all meals. Now this is for me um, because I have a slightly different role. But for those of you who are true to your path and you're on your sincere seeking path, you'll be called to do that at times, to fast a bit before a big session. Now we have a very, very big session. The biggest session of the year is less than 1 month away, and that's 8-8 Lionsgate. That's the biggest session. So for your biggest growth is coming up into this point, the most transformative time of the year. So I always recommend, definitely eat light. That's like New Year's for us spiritual folk. So keep up with that. And next thing, caffeine. You definitely want to limit caffeine. Caffeine keeps you connected to critical thinking. It keeps you connected to physicality of those aspects of life. So you don't want to be on caffeine, and you don't want to be filled full of food. Next thing, biggest complaint is falling asleep. Many people fall asleep during meditation, and they don't want to. So keep yourself awake. If you need to do a little bit of exercise, do some yoga, do some stretching, anything to get the blood moving, do some breathing. Um, that helps a lot. Cold shower, cold water. Sometimes, this just happened the other day. Is I really do not like falling asleep during, obviously, during all my energy work. So I'll just, if I gotta tap my arms, tap my body, get my energy moving, get it active. Um, that's a big one. So don't be afraid to do some stretching. Do a little bit of very light exercise to get your blood pumping, and that will last. That'll give you enough vital energy to last during the session, because there is this balance between having enough energy to not fall asleep, but then also being able to guide your own consciousness to that cusp of where dreaming and sleeping is just right on the other side, because that's where that spiritual energy is going to come through. All of those energies happen within the present moment. So when you do these remote connections and I open up the field, my energy is flowing to everyone, and you're having thoughts that are intrusive thoughts come in, your mind is chattering, and you can't get focused. The connection is there. All you need to do is just drop whatever you're thinking. Don't get down on yourself. Just let it go immediately. Get back into the present moment and relax and surrender to that connection. It's just like an airplane refueling it, getting refueled in the air. You ever seen an airplane get refueled while it's flying? That's like what we're doing. That fuel connection is always there, but if it's like kind of off a little bit, it just has to slow down, get that connection. It's always going to be there. So, all right, next part about, so we want to do a little exercise. Sometimes I'll take a cold shower, anything to get my energy sparked up, because I know that I'm going to be taken to that space where sleep is just on the other side and I can't get sleepy. I have to keep myself grounded. So one of the biggest things that we're going to learn is how to keep our energy open, how to keep that connection open, because we are like a plug. When we go down the spiritual path and we open ourselves up to spiritual energies, we open ourselves up to remote connections. It all works the same way. It all works through the spirit. These remote connections, they work through the spirit. So, same thing with meditation, is that um, for those of you who are new, what you're looking for is when you do these group connections, you sit down, your space is clear, you open yourself up to the connection, you make yourself vulnerable. You surrender to the intention to receive. That's the little check mark in which your higher power, your conscience is okay. That's all we need to allow this connection to be a success. It's just your conscious choice to allow it to happen. And then you surrender to that choice. Now, my energy will come in, and what you're looking for is the tiniest little frequency. All that means is just the feeling, the new feeling that you get when you feel that connection hit. That little new sensation is the little chord that's connecting to everyone. Now, this is more for those who are just starting out and they're new to opening themselves up to remote connections. You're just looking for this tiny little sensation that you didn't have before we started. And when you feel that little connection, it comes in from the present moment, which your mind is clear, your mind is open, and that little tiny new feeling is that little cord reaching down, and you grab that cord and you feel that cord and you begin to expand that feeling within your body. You surrender to it at the same time, and eventually it will take over and contain your whole body, and it'll be a whole body experience. So it's basically we're learning to just get hooked into that frequency, that new feeling, open ourselves up to it, and then it will expand. And it only takes is our focus and concentration to allow it to be with our whole body. And so that surrendering, releasing the uncertainty, release any type of hesitation, and that connection will always be there. Now, the important thing is to look at is what is the shape of our human body's connection? Like when we sit down to get ready for this connection, when we're in meditation, it's all the same. Is when you're opening yourself up to spirit, you're doing this. You have two very important plugs that you connect to that keep you balanced and that keep you connected. So if you were to look at yourself when you're setting up your remote connection, you want to open up your energy. And there's two really important points that keep you connected. And that is your root and your crown. So the energy at the base of your spine or even your feet, you can use any of those. Um, you want to make sure that that is connected to the earth, the field of the earth. Remember, we learned about fields of connection? You're opening yourself up to the field of the earth because you want to be rooted and grounded. Because if you, of what happens in a lot of times is that you feel the spiritual connection come in, maybe you have a decent energy right when you sit, but if you're not fully secured and grounded, that spiritual energy will come and it will pull your awareness off of your body and you fall asleep. And you'll have this moment where if your mind is working really slow and you're slowing down and observing, there will be a moment in which you feel that sleepiness first begin to creep in. And so you have this moment where a part of you is not tired at all. And you feel that sleepiness being pulled in. That's the first impressions, the first moments of being ungrounded, in which your awareness is going down the channel and it's being pulled off your body. So, what combats this, what mitigates this, is before we open ourselves up to the group connection or to a remote connection, we get ourselves connected to the earth. This is so important. I do this every single time, every single meditation. But there's two plugs. So, the first, probably most important plug, I shouldn't say most important, but they're both equally important because if you're too grounded and you don't have your crown opened up, you won't even feel the connection. You won't be able to be quiet enough. And obviously, what I just said before is if your crown is super open and you're not grounded, you'll be pulled off your body. Your awareness will be pulled off your body and you'll get sleepy, you'll fall asleep, and that connection will get severed. So it's like a plug getting undone. So open yourself up to the earth or whatever you know the earth has to get your awareness underneath your body. So if you're sitting, the first thing you do before the connection, space is all set up, everything's all clear, is before I even start, get your awareness underneath your feet. You can do it right now. Put your awareness at your feet. What does that feel like? You may slowly begin to feel your feet open up and feel energy flowing through your legs. So you want that energy flowing through your lower body. And if you want to continue that connection, bring your awareness even further below your feet. Eventually, you will run into another chakra energy center called the Earth Star, which is like about 2 feet below your body, is your deepest core connection to the earth. And the more you get your awareness under your body, I'm doing it just as we speak, it makes me more grounded, more connected. So you want that connection first. Get yourself hooked into the earth before you expand and feel that powerful spiritual energy. So we have we have our feet hooked up. Next, we open up our crown. So you bring your awareness to the top of your head. And you just imagine the top of your head opening up to the ceiling. It's as simple as that. Feel that energy. Imagine all that open space opens up above your head, and you're allowing in energy from above to come down. Very, very simple, very easy. And you'll notice that when you do that for the first time, you start to get a little tired. You start to get more relaxed. You start to get more peaceful because that is your connection to your higher power. And your higher power is connected to everyone else's higher power, the one higher power of collective humanity. Okay. That's what makes all of this possible. So now you have your two plugs plugged in. Next thing you do, open up your heart, just begin to feel love, begin to feel light. You don't, it doesn't have to necessarily be love. You can use light and allow yourself to glow with all your light from within and just open that up. Okay. And that is the most easy process to start with before you do these group connections that we do. So take time to yourself, a good 15 minutes beforehand, stretch, get yourself awake and open, splash some water on your face, do a little stretching. Your atmosphere is clear, do a little sound, burn some sage. You sit down, you take the time to ground to the earth, you take the time to open up your crown, you take the time to glow like a sun from within your body. Then, boom, now you're set. Now you are primed and you're ready for this connection. So now the session is started. You look for that initial new feeling as you surrender to the process. You do nothing but give yourself permission to receive. That's all you've done is you've given yourself permission to receive. That is the gateway that allows all this to happen. You find that little feeling that comes in and you embody it. It's like someone throwing you a rope in the ocean. You grab it, now you're connected. And once you're connected, you learn how to expand that energy around your whole body. Bring it to your feet and ground. And then the rest is history. And then you obviously go through your experience of the remote connection. Um, Another helpful tip is you may not want to lie down. You may want to be propped up. Being propped up to 45-degree angle, not quite lying down, but not quite sitting up is a really good medium between the two. Lying down is the receptive position in which that's better for when you need deep healing, when you need to be restored, you're run down and you need more energy. That is more conducive. So lying down versus being propped up. Being propped up is a good halfway point because a lot of the times when you meditate or expand, a lot of the times before you meditate and expand, you want to, um, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, lost my thought. Anyone want to message and say, what was I just talking about? Happens every now and again. Release expectations. Anyhow, we're going through, we're feeling that energy. It's coming down. It's coming down. We open up, we embody that connection. And the next big thing that we want to do is recognize two things. For those of us who can't get clarity, remember that connection is always coming through, and clarity is basically the gatekeeper to higher consciousness. Clarity is the boundary that keeps you from experiencing these remote connections. So you need to think of your thoughts. Don't think of them as just something that's in your head. You need to think of them as something that you're carrying around your whole body. You carry your thoughts as it's like a bubble. Your mental body is more akin to a bubble in which you're in the middle. So your thoughts are around you. If you can't keep clarity, then you're always going to have a ceiling that keeps you from experiencing more of the frequencies and ways to perceive higher dimensional energy. Yes, physical position. Okay, yeah, I was going to say, thank you, Victoria. Physical positions. Um, a lot of times when you're expanding, you are sitting upright in the seated position. So if you want to expand or you want to like kind of push yourself with under your own like your own boundaries, then you probably want to be sitting up in the meditative position. Lying down, it's not really meant for that type of connection. But sometimes if you're halfway propped up between lying down and sitting fully upright, that could give you a chance to go both ways. So that's how I'll leave it at that. But for me personally, if I know that I'm in an active meditation where I want to go further, I want to achieve more, um, that's when I'm going to be sitting upright. And that's what I'm my in my meditations now, always sitting upright, never lying down. Sometimes I'll just sit in a chair, but most 95% of the time, I'm sitting upright. So remember that when you're doing these connections, do you want to be restored for healing, for being put back together? Probably want to be lying down. And that brings us to the next and last part of this talk is what's the intention behind the different ways we can receive this energy. Now, if you're just connecting with your friends remotely, that's something that you discussed beforehand. But for these group connections, this group offering, there are a few different things that we can have as our intention. Now, this is where we get into the many applications of remote connections. And the first is clearing your energy. A lot of us need self-care. We always push our self-care to the side, and we go about all the other obligations and stresses that we have. So this form of self-care is really important. So you could have the intention just to get your energy cleared, just to get your energy restored. That can be your intention. And that's what you surrender to the moment you feel this higher dimensional energy connect in with you. Okay? That's the good one. Everyone needs to get their energy field cleared, especially if you're in high density populations of people. Going out to, I don't know, going out to a movie theater, or going out shopping into a mall, or anytime you're in a high density area, you are rubbing shoulders with everyone's energy, everyone's field, and it gets all connected and you get everyone's, energy all over you. It's a thing. It happens. And you might not be conscious of it. But if you go down the path and continue to learn, it's just part of life. It's just part of life. So remember that you might just want to get cleared. You might just want to get your energy restored. Okay, so those are your intentions. Next one, advanced consciousness. For those of you who are actively progressing their consciousness, that can be your intention. I want to go further. I want to learn more. I want to experience the deeper realms that we have to work with while we're in the flesh. That's a big one because a few of these energies throughout the year, they can take you to your boundary. They can take you to exactly where uh, it will show you more than what you knew before. Next thing is healing and restoring. So, same thing with clearing. Maybe you want to just have your energy field healed. You want to get that loving, soothing energy back into your body because that's what this energy can do. It can be multidimensional. These dimensional energies carry the application to perform many, many tasks, all within a singular connection. So for those of us who just need to get that energy back to the body and you want to be healed, you want to feel better, boom, there you go. That's one of your intentions. Another thing is if you want to be connected with a guide, you want to be connected with one of your spiritual team, these connections, these remote connections can amplify the spiritual energy within your space to give you more access to receive deeper insight, to receive deeper intuition from your guides. So it's a time in which you can hear your higher power, your spiritual team more easily. Another thing, on the contrary, is shadow work. If you are going through the shadow work or you're trying to bring out the energy that you wish to bring harmony back to, all that disharmonious, chaotic energy, that we're all working through in some capacity. Say you do this remote connection, you want to do shadow work. This energy can literally go through and find those blockages. They can find those fractured pieces of your soul, and they can get under it and push them to the surface of your consciousness for you to see. Now, I always recommend, use caution when doing that work, because you start pulling out all of your dirt, it can get, it becomes a thing, because a lot of shadow work, it doesn't just get addressed in one session. It's something that you work on, in some cases, hours, weeks, months, years. So that's something that, if it's called to you to do shadow work and bring out your disharmonious energy, then that's something that is another application. All right. And so the other thing is that this energy carries the vibration. The wisdom is in the feeling. So this is the dimension to which the wisdom you are seeking, the insight you are seeking, it's carried within the vibrations of these high dimensional spiritual energies. Meaning, when your mind is just quiet, you just have to feel and make connection with these higher energies. And all of the need to know releases. And the wisdom comes from the feeling. It's nothing you have to do. All you have to do is learn how to quiet your mind, learn how to bring clarity. Clarity is literally the only thing you need to learn how to do, and then connect to the spiritual energy, and it does the rest. It becomes an automated process. But obviously, the biggest challenge in the beginning is learning how to keep a clear mind. So there could be things that you have to do to prepare your physical body, release some of that anxious energy that we all carry around with us. Do a little exercise, a little stretching, a little yoga, maybe some breath work, cold shower, clear yourself. When you clear yourself, by, let's say, with a shower with water, you're stripping away all these little distractions within your mind. They just get washed right away. Okay, so I think that was just about everything I wanted to do with this process of group connections. Let me double check and make sure I hit everything I wanted to hit. All right. All right. Sounds. Yeah. So I do play a lot of the sound baths during the group sessions. Sound is a beautiful way to help keep the mind peaceful, to keep us out of that left brain, that analytical brain that wants to analyze everything that comes into its space. So utilizing sound through these sound baths that I play for the group session could be super helpful. Um, or if you have any type of meditative music that helps you get into that trance like state, because we're trying to shift out of the left brain and into the intuitive, present moment, artistic, creative right brain. That is the goal which you're trying to do. So sound can obviously be super, super helpful. And I know that when I do my energy work, when at times Megan will play a sound bowl, and it just like boom, just immediately locks me into my connection even more. So use the power of sound as a tool to assist you with these connections. The other thing is, okay, yeah, and if you want to call upon your own guides, your own protection and security, there's obviously something that you can do, and to make you feel more secure and protected. Now, I do a lot of connection protection for these sessions, so that it's just going to add to it. I'm very, very professional and specific about the quality of the connection. I make sure I don't ever have lapses of where I start thinking about random stuff. And, for that whole hour long time, I'm like holding open this connection, which my mind, for the most part, is at rest, and it's only embodying that energy to come down and connect to the group. All right, so yeah, if you have any questions, now is the time to ask them. Did you say take a cold shower before or after the session? If you're having trouble staying awake and you really need that extra boost to like give you a spark of life and energy and vitality, cold shower, way to go. Do it beforehand. It will wake you up. You're going to have more awareness, more clarity for the session. Now, after you're done with these sessions, aftercare, the first thing is you want to give yourself time before you start running around and doing physical stuff. Drink lots of water. All of your cells become active in such a way it almost like it's dehydrates you. So drink extra water after the session. If you have the opportunity, get your feet on the bare ground, make connection with the earth, and sometimes you may be called to eat a grounding meal. And on the contrary, you may actually also be called to continue fasting or continue being in that spiritual, energetic state from the group session. So you really have to listen to your, kind of intuition, but you can't go wrong with get more water inside of you, get your feet on solid ground, limit stressful things, limit screen times immediately afterwards. When you dive onto a screen immediately after these connections, it's such a very big jump in what consciousness you were in versus what you're putting yourself into. It's a huge jump, and a it can make you feel sick. It can make you feel bad because you're immediately blasting yourself with left brain activity when you are just an hour in transcendental deep states. So be cognizant of what you do immediately after these sessions because we're literally like an airplane bringing people up and you want to be brought back down very gracefully, if that makes sense. Thank you. Thanks for listening. I definitely appreciate that, Tanya and Joe, and everyone else asking questions. Victoria, um, let's see what other questions we got here. This I'm having some big time lagging on my end over here. Okay, here's a question. This may be slightly off topic, but how do you set the intention to connect to a particular energy, and how do you know that is who you are connecting to? Let me see if let me interpret this. Okay, so for instance, I'll just take my group healings as an example, okay, because that'll just make it easier. So if there's a question that says, "How do you set the intention to connect to a particular energy, and how do you know that is who you are connecting to?" Um, that's a very good question. A very good question. In one sense, you may be doing that by yourself. So that's when you know, like, how do I know that's what I'm doing? And it's very difficult. It's very difficult in the beginning because you don't know. No, you don't know it. Nobody knows anything. And you're basically learning as you go because you're looking for contrast with each experience that teaches you. Every experience is going to show you and teach you a little bit more about what you didn't understand or give you a little bit more insight to help refine your process. Because the thing is that even though you don't technically know what you're doing or if this is that or who you're connecting to, your higher power does. Your higher power knows exactly what you're trying to do. Your higher soul consciousness recognizes everything that you're attempting to do. The goal of the human experience is to reconnect that lower mind with the higher mind and to recognize all of that knowledge, that wisdom, that need for understanding already exists inside of you. We just have this human experience through the choices we make in life that bring out that wisdom, that bring out that truth. So we're constantly seeking truth to get reconnected to what's already inherent within us. Now, when I'm doing these group connections, I have so much experience meditating, which overlaps every other spiritual activity I do. So my meditation game is extremely on point, and that helps make my group connections more efficient because you learn the different connections over time. You learn what a proper service to others oriented spiritual connection feels like. You know, when if basically you start off by knowing, does this new spiritual feeling feel good or feel bad? Okay, and you say, oh, these feel bad, these ones feel really good, these are for me. These experiences and sensations and feelings, these this energy is clearly in benefit of me. So you learn to polarize towards those feelings first. You say, okay, these are spiritual sensations that are service to others for me. It's like a feeling, because there's only two types of spiritual energy. I don't want to get too deep into ascension and consciousness, but if you want to learn more about that, feel free to hit me up. I have a 16-week course that teaches how consciousness ascends. Um, I hope that helps a little bit. And your intention, so your higher power knows your specific intention. So all you got to do is make that intention once and then proceed with your activity. It's only the mind that confuses itself. It's only the mind that comes in and says, wait, did I make my intention clear enough? Do I need to say it more loudly to myself? It's only your mind that confuses itself. Because when you get into the present moment with no thoughts, you recognize that when you do have a thought, one singular thought that says, I'm going to open myself to this connection, then no other thoughts, that's the reality that unfolds. Okay, so that's how the mechanics of our dimension work. You know, when we have all these constant thoughts flowing in it, those are literal creations that are trying to create. And if you were to continue placing focus on these random thoughts, they will come into creation. But if you only have one singular thought, that's creation. Okay, I hope that helps a little bit. Oh, last thing before everyone starts jumping out of here, I do have a meditation course, a 4-week series on what you need to do in meditation. Now, I know this, we're all talking about remote healing, but they overlap each other perfectly. You know, when you're good at one, you're going to be good at the other. So if you want to learn more about my 4-week meditation series, it's starting in the middle of August. It'll be weekly meditations and lectures on how to open up and build your power from within. So feel free to message me if you are interested in this course. And it's going to be right after the Lionsgate session. So you're going to take all that high spiritual energy, and then we're going to learn how to empower ourselves and do that on our own. Okay, let me see if we have any more questions that I skipped over on accident. Is it having a really tough time with Zoom right now? Okay. So many various levels of frequency. So you are holding. Yes, I am holding space to everybody. Okay. Very good question. One. Pauline is asking what I use crystal grids in my remote connections. What does it do? Very, very good question. So I have this very skilled ability to work with crystal grids. And the crystal grids, all they're doing is they're helping build my atmosphere and create a space that's conducive to the spiritual work that I'm performing. So all my big grids, they just literally create atmosphere. They create resonance. They connect to my consciousness, and it becomes an extension of myself. So all those grids, it's just essentially building a big bubble of protection and conducive atmosphere. Um, yeah, so that's in a nutshell. That's what the grids are doing. It's basically not bringing us to the highest, but it's help creating a safe space, a safe connective space. Yeah, so there's many things that I could do with people with remote connections, because if I were to bring someone to the highest vibration, it would probably hurt them. It'd probably be too much. It'd blow out someone's nervous system, or they just wouldn't be able to ride the ride to that high. So there are different levels to this game, and the more you go down the path and open yourself up, um, let go of the lower frequencies, the lower forms of consciousness, you upgrade to higher, more sturdy, strong foundations of consciousness, in which you learn how to ascend your consciousness or increase in vibration to some very, very high levels. But the goal is not the highest. Let's make that super clear. The goal is not the highest level of consciousness. It's actually right in the middle. It's the earth frequencies that is the mastering goal. We just have the ability to go as far as we want into infinity. But the goal and what was going to give you the most satisfaction in life is the earth vibrations. Learning to be a master of love, learning to be a master of the fifth dimensional energies of gratitude, reverence, devotion. Those types of energies are going to reward you the most within life. Now, the transcendental experiences, they're obviously very helpful and they're very incredible, but they don't necessarily give you the most benefit for your life's journey. They do make it extremely rich and complex because you're able to perceive more and more of working reality. So, and yes, to all of these group connections that we do, you can utilize the replay. If you can't make it to the live, I set up these connections to which the energy is going to go to every single person that's expecting it. So even though it doesn't make rational linear sense, dimension doesn't necessarily work like that. It works more in a all in one, an unfolding of an event. So that energy that is sent is going to the people who are going to be expecting it. And that includes the people in the future who will connect to it. So if you miss the live offering, watch the replay and just treat it as if it was live, and just evaluate your experience in that way. Because a lot of times we're connecting to higher consciousness, and that higher consciousness recognizes that as well. All right, everyone. I believe that does it. So my next group remote healing is going to be 722 coming up, and that is, we're still on the Cosmic Consciousness series, and that will be with the Sirians, and they are responsible for the next two sessions. So we're doing the Sirians 722, and then Lionsgate with the most celebrated spiritual connection of the whole year, in which there's so many people that they've participated in the Lionsgate sessions in which they said it's changed their entire life, put them on the path. It accelerated their growth. So you do not want to miss 8 my group healing sessions. You can find all this information on grouphealing.com as well. New people, I know there's a lot of new people in here. New people, if you want to join, I do have $1 sign up. You sign up for $1 and you get the next month of free sessions. But yeah, you can find all that at grouphealing.com. And I'm going to make a post right there. This lag is just so bad. All right, well, it's not letting me type here. Yeah, super big lag. You'll have to remember grouphealing.com. And lastly, as I said before, I have a 4-week meditation series that's starting just after Lionsgate. So if you want to learn how I've learned to meditate and how I've learned to get so powerful, I've made it to enormous accomplishment in the meditative world. I'm teaching how I do that. I'm teaching everyone, this is the ins and outs. This is how I've learned to get that much light, that much energy inside of me, step by step, where we're going to learn the process, and then we're going to practice it as a group. So it'll be a guided meditation live with everyone. Way more energy when you're connecting live than otherwise. So definitely recommend anyone that wants to learn more about meditation or even enhance their meditation. Definitely join this group. It's coming up at the end of October. I'm going to drop a link right here. Let me see if I can do that because this Zoom is making it really difficult. Right, here we go. I'm going to drop this in here. There we go. Okay, I just dropped a link for the meditation class. So if you want to learn more about the meditation class, it is right there. You can sign up whenever. Otherwise, I will be around. So thanks again, everyone, for joining in, connecting, and it was super fun to talk about and share these processes. So thanks again. Thank you, Shirley, Eloise, Tanya, Sarah, Joe, Molly. Thank you, Victoria, Pauline, Sarah, Jasmine, Jamie, everyone else. I think I got everybody. Okay, cool. I will see you around.